You're listening to Inside IASB, a podcast series dedicated to informing and encouraging Illinois School Board members. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the podcast. My name is Isaac Warren. I'm the Assistant Director of Digital Communications at the Illinois Association of School Boards. And with me today, I have Reatha Owen.
Isaac, thank you for having me today. My name is Reatha Owen. I'm the Senior Field Service Director for Illinois Association of School Boards. I've been with the association 10 years, working with boards, which has been an incredible job that I've been able to support our members. And
we're going to be talking today about division leadership. And I think it'd be good to kind of define what that is, because I don't know, I think it might be different to different people. So what is IASB's official definition of division leadership?
When we think about division leadership, the Illinois Association of School Board is made up for its members. So IASB has divided Illinois into 21 geographical regions called divisions, and they have designated officers based on IASB's constitution and division bylaws. Mm-hmm. These officers are usually the chair, vice chair, resolutions chair, and director. And in addition, some division bylaws provide for one or more other directors that they would like to fit in their division. As we think about leadership, we want to make sure that we have the opportunity to have conversations and be able to listen to what our members need so we can best serve them. When we think about our division officers, they have an active role in our division events. For example, if there's a chair, that person leads the event, welcomes people, has a active role in that event. If it's a vice chair, very much like any other type of vice position, they step in if the chair isn't there. Mm-hmm. The resolutions chair has a really unique position for the division in that they are part of the resolutions chair committee. They review proposals that come in. They go to delegate assembly. So that role is much more in-depth and working closely with the governmental relations department. And of course, we have our board of directors role, mm-hmm. which is the highest level as far as activity and interaction and leadership for the division with the association. And that person is part of the 22 members that are on the board of directors for the association, have quarterly meetings. So that leadership role goes from division all the way up to the association level.
Okay, yeah. So as school board members, we kind of have like this chain of command, so to speak, of like you can talk to your division director and then up the chain all the way up to the board of directors, which is like, they're the folks that really, they manage our constitution, right? Or what's the board of directors role?
They actually run the organization as far as just
okay.
like a school board runs is the governing part of the district.
Right.
Our board of directors is the governing section of our association.
Gotcha. Like the
yes,
school board.
Yes. They set the vision and the direction for the association.
Okay. Gotcha. And how does someone get to that point in their career as a school board member? Is it can anyone become a board of director or a director, I guess?
As far as a division officer, there is a process that we have established in the Constitution and our bylaws. And at the end, let me see, pause. After each school board election, we hold a division election for officers. This could be done at a governing meeting or it could be done at another division meeting where we have individuals that are looking into leadership roles for the division, that they can either be appointed from the floor. We have some divisions that will have a nominating committee, and they will use their process for those that are interested in the leadership role to come, and they will actually present a slate of officers at an upcoming division event. There's some flexibility in how divisions best do that, and that's usually captured in their bylaws. Every 2 years, we have an election. Every 2 years, we have officer elections. And these are 2-year terms. They can be extended. So if a chair wanted to be reelected, that person could be reelected by its members for another 2 years. Mm-hmm. When it comes to voting, the The vote is captured at that meeting, or those that are attending the meeting. And every board has one representative. So just like at the association level, same way at division level, every district has one vote. So at that meeting, they are able to, vote on who that person is.
Gotcha. Okay, cool. I didn't know all that about the nominating committee. That's cool. I didn't know about that. So you kind of hinted about this earlier. So we've got these division leaders and they have specific roles, especially when it comes to a lot of these events that IASB puts on or that the divisions themselves put on. You mentioned delegate assembly, like division meetings. Like, you give an example of what that might look like for a division meeting. What would their roles be there?
Absolutely. The chair actually will lead the meeting as far as opening the meeting, being able to introduce the agenda, how that meeting is going to run. Usually the resolutions chair, they will have an update as far as where they are in the process of what proposals have come in, promote delegate assembly, how does that work, but also offer him or herself to the division is, hey, if you're working on a proposal or if you have a question about the process, I'm your contact person. Mm-hmm. Reach out to me. If you're working on a proposal and need me as your resolutions chair to assist you, I can assist you. Our governmental relations department is here to answer any questions you might have. And then we have our board of directors. They usually bring an update as far as what's going on at the board level, with some updates that are going association-wide, and be able to be present, be able to answer any questions that they might have. So it's a great way of being able to get an idea of where the association is, where's it's going, but also what's going on in the division.
Gotcha. So they're like the point person for the goings on, I guess, division wide.
Correct.
Like the division expert, so to speak.
Right.
Okay, cool. Let's talk about like the type of person that would be good or well suited for division leadership roles. Because I think it does take a specific type of person to at least say, I'll take up this role as division leader, because it's pretty hefty. You're managing. It's depending on population, correct? The divisions. Correct. So it's not necessarily like a county amount. I mean, Cook County itself is split into 3 or 4 divisions, right? So,
right.
And that's just because it's such a densely populated region. So being a person who says, I'm going to take charge of my division for X amount of people, that's a pretty tall order. In your experience, in your decade of experience so far, what have you seen are good, successful qualities that a person has that makes them a good leader?
When we think about leadership and we think about IASB's vision, as far as excellence in local school governance, supporting quality public education, we can only accomplish this vision by having conversations and relationships with our school board members. And that conversation needs to be on how can we as an association support you in your governance role? And as we're looking for leadership, we want someone that will be a good representative and spokesperson for the division, not just his or her district, but for the division as a whole, which could be a quite diverse group of districts and members as well. And being able to articulate what's going well, what's not, what is that we need to support our members in our division, because what North Cook needs is going to be totally different than what Corn Belt might need.
Sure, yeah.
And that's what's nice about the diversity of the leadership is they know their members and what needs to be done as far as supporting them. So we want someone that is kind of that person that are able to articulate a need, be able to work with others in helping to accomplish that task, and be able to communicate with the rest of the members on the work it's doing, and being able to listen so that we can all work collectively together in moving that district forward as much as we can through the association.
Absolutely. In your role, how do you interact, or how does your department interact with the field service directors? Do they come in and assist with I don't know, like how do you guys help kind of collaborate on things?
We will hold each year either a executive committee meeting or called a governing meeting. And during that meeting, we will have the officers there and any of the members that want to attend. We discuss, hey, how did the last events go? What went well? What didn't? What do you want to do next round? So these would be division events. Usually we do at least 2 division events a year. Mm-hmm. And the officers and our members, they give us, as far as the field services directors, here's kind of the dates, locations. Here's some topics that I think would be helpful for us in our governance role. And whether it's a speaker, whether it's a breakout, whether it's a panel, we have those discussions as far as what would be helpful as far as for professional development, for networking opportunities. So we facilitate that conversation. Mm-hmm. We work with them in what they are expecting at that event. And then the directors and staff, we actually work on coordinating it, the logistics, the registration, handling the venue, the meal. We handle all of that piece. Mm-hmm. They help us with big picture, what we want to talk about, and then we handle the logistics of it. And then that way, when they come to the event, they are able to step into their role as a division leader and be able to implement. And we provide them, guidelines, some talking points, and we work closely with them because we want every event to be successful. So we work very closely on that and making sure that everyone's on the same page. Yeah.
And so it sounds like the role of the officer especially is making sure they're talking with their members and saying, hey, what do you guys want to have at these meetings? Because ideally we want a lot of people to show up to this and make it as interesting as possible for as wide of a demographic in that division as possible. So Reatha, could you talk about some of the division events that are put on each year, some of the examples of events that division leaders would be expected to attend or at least participate in?
Absolutely. Typically, when you look at your division bylaws, it states that there are at least 2 division events every year. Typically, you would see that as a fall and spring division meeting. And we have some divisions that will do additional. We have a couple that will do a legislative breakfast where they're able to bring in their legislatives and representatives to have a conversation. We have a couple of those that are done up north. The division officers have the ability to do additional meetings if they'd like to, but typically the bylaws, we have to have at least 2. Some of them will have a governing meeting, so that's 3 meetings. Again, they vary as far as the topics, the venue, and what style they use. And we talked earlier about kind of the diversity of opportunities that they have to deliver these events. But that's typically what you see is at least 2 events a year for each division.
Gotcha. And from personal experience, I've gone to a couple of division meetings, and it's always been fascinating to see I think it's something we've been hinting on throughout this podcast is the diversity of the different divisions and how they put on their events. There's some that hold them, they're huge, right? They're in big hotel lobbies and they're like enormous. Others like, hey, we're going to meet in the school cafeteria. We've got dinner. And it's just like, it's a lot more intimate, but it just really speaks to each division has a very unique every leader in each division has a very unique demographic to deal with. And it is interesting to see the solutions that come out of those. Especially, I like when the division meetings are at schools because it's so cool to kind of be like in the zone, I guess, so to speak. Like, it puts you back and like, all right, let's work on making schools as efficient and great for our students as we possibly can. And it's just so cool to see how, that's just how diverse those are. I mean, in your experience, what is something that you really appreciate about the role of the division leaders?
I like the fact that they do consider the diversity and what they need. And you are so right in that it is so different when you start going across the state of Illinois and what that looks like. Working with them is really key in meeting their needs. And that also helps with the different types of information they need as far as professional development. For example, when COVID hit, okay, we got to talk about the gap, or and then when school shootings, we need to talk about safety, or we need to talk about social emotional learning. I mean, so finding out what they need, and then as a director saying, what does that look like for you? What would be helpful? Is this a networking where you have a panel, or do you have a keynote? And in some venues, you don't have that ability to have that flexibility. But working with them in that executive committee meeting or that governing meeting, you're able to kind of tease that out. Do you want to be in a school? Do you want a venue? But in some places of the state, that's easier said than done because of the limited geographic area you have that you can actually hold events. So sometimes that's a challenge. But that's why schools are a great way. And it also helps board members to remember that it's about students. You're here to have, to promote student success and how you govern to make that happen. So that's another message that we want to make sure. So I agree. I like the variety, and it is a great way of just moving the whole association forward by having the diversity of needs and wants. But we find out there's some commonalities to what they want. Yeah. Because it's academic and that's kind of basic as far as a solid base of student success. But it is interesting to hear the conversations and how we can accommodate and make them work for everyone that's in that division.
Let's kind of walk up the ladder a little bit. Let's say we have a board member, currently just a school board member, and they're kind of fired up and they want to get more involved. What is their first step, and what should their first goal be in terms of like increasing their leadership?
I think the first one is taking that step of either reaching out to one of the division, like your board of directors, or even your current chair or your director even. Hey, I would like to do more. For example, I did have a board member approach me and say, I enjoy my work, but I want to do more. And what can I do to serve my division? And just by having the interest and letting people know, say, hey, I have so-and-so that's kind of interested, and I let either the officers know or the executive committee that might have a nominating committee, let them know, here's a couple of individuals that is interested. As a director, we try not to be involved in that. We give them direction of what it looks like. Here's what it entails, and encourage them to reach out and continue to have the conversation with the current leadership. But we don't have them. There isn't a typical progression. You would typically see vice chair, chair, board of directors. That's what you've seen. But I have seen resolutions chair, because that's not really, they aren't in any specific like chain of command type order. Okay. Because resolutions chair is a total different ballgame than a chair or vice chair as far as the additional work that they do in supporting the association. So you could go from resolutions chair to director, or you could go from, it really depends on the leadership that they have shown the division and their election process. Now, if they hear that someone is interested, then that will start the conversation, and knowing what does that entail, but also knowing that it's a commitment. Do they have the time commitment? And do they understand what that job entails? For a chair and vice chair, they really just have to attend the division meetings. Mm-hmm. But if you're resolutions chair, you've got some, out of town meetings, you got to go to conference. The others, you've got to, the board of directors is much more intel as far as the depth of work that they have to do and travel. So having those conversations on that leadership and saying, hey, is this a good fit for you? But knowing that they're all 2-year terms, but they can be reelected. Sometimes it gets to where, well, they've been there and I don't want to step on your toes, or I want to do that. So, there's a little of gentle nudges that you can, that they can support each other, knowing that they need the best leader they can that will serve, as I had mentioned earlier, that spokesperson and represent their division well at all those levels. Gotcha.
Yeah. So, that's really cool that there's a bit of you can cast a wide net, so to speak, and there's not a very linear way of like, you have to do this, then you have to do this. It's where do you find your leadership best being used, or your capabilities as a leader, where are they best being used? And I think that is really awesome that as an association, we're able to support that kind of work and allow board members to put in, really just volunteer their time as much as they want, even very much like you're saying with the resolutions example, a lot of legwork. It sounds like it goes into that, but it's really cool that people who feel the burn and the need to do that are just have that opportunity at all. That's really neat. Is there a place that our members could go to learn more about the roles of division leadership or what those types of roles entail?
I would say the document that we have that talks about division leadership that we have on the website. The other is to go onto their division webpage, and there will have the bylaws on there. It will have a list of all the districts that are involved in that division, and it will have their current officers. That would give them the opportunity of have a conversation with the other officers. The director's contact information is on as well. So that would be the best place to go and get that initial information.
If you're listening at home or feeling inclined to look more into this, definitely check out the resources that Reatha has mentioned. Reatha, thank you so much for coming on the podcast and talking more about division leadership. I think that getting more folks informed about the types of roles available to them is really important. But yeah, thank you again, Reatha. Really appreciate it. A lot of fun.
Thank you. It was great to be with you. And feel free to reach out to your division leadership team, your field services director, or your association, and we want to serve you the best that we can.
Absolutely. And that contact info is available on our website. Thank you for listening to the podcast. And thank you for your dedicated volunteer service to public education. If you'd like to stay up to date with future episodes, please consider following us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or YouTube Music. Have a comment or question? We welcome listener feedback and invite you to leave us a voicemail via the link in the description or send us a voicemail at communications@iasb.com. Thanks.